Hello everybody, my name is Haley Rozier and welcome to my channel. This is my second video. I explained a little bit in the first video what my channel was going to be about. This is going to be a paranormal story time. And I'm wearing the same outfit as in my first video because I just filmed that one. I thought about changing outfits, but I'm too lazy. Anyway, I'm going to talk a little bit about my experiences here in this house that we're in right now in North Carolina and a few experiences I've had throughout my life. I've always loved scary movies. Like, they've always appealed to me. I think one of the first movies that really got me into liking the paranormal was either Insidious or Paranormal Activity. I know they're both kind of cheesy, but I love them. I have so many memories of watching those movies at my old house in Chicago with my two best friends. We would turn off all the lights and have a sleepover, and it just brings me good feelings, and from that moment on, it was kind of an interest to me. But I never really found anyone who felt the same here in North Carolina, so I kind of dropped it a little bit. But now that I have a car and my own bank account, and I'm not in school anymore, I did some traveling back and forth to Chicago to see old friends, and my friends actually had some of the same interests, mainly my best friend Katie. She was really into tarot cards, and she has a pendulum that we used, and she introduced me to some games and that. And one visit, we decided we wanted to use a Ouija board. So we ran to Target, and I had seen one there before, and it turned out that they didn't sell them anymore. So we made our own, and I am darn proud of it because it has so much love and energy put into it, and I feel like it looks fucking fantastic. So I feel like it just has so much of us in it that it would work better than one we bought in the store. We ended up using a cutting board and stencils and stenciling on the letters, and we used different fonts. It was really fun doing it. It was a big bonding experience, and we ended up not being able to use it that visit. None of the parents would let us use it in their house. They were all too freaked out by the idea of it, which I guess rightly so. So we ended up having to wait until my next visit when I stayed in a hotel. And this happened to be in January. My grandmother had just died in November. So I had high hopes of being able to contact her. So we finally got to use the Ouija board, and we used a planchette from a board game that I had ordered online, and that wasn't working so well, and we were ready to give up, and we finally tried a plastic cup, believe it or not, from the hotel. And honestly, I thought at first that it was my friend moving we'll call it the planchette. I thought it was Katie moving the planchette until she started answering questions that she didn't know the answer to. So that was one of my first paranormal breakthroughs, I guess you could say. It was very exciting. I called my mom right away. I was like, "You're never gonna believe this." We talked to Grandma. She's here. She there's no way it could have been one of my friends. I know it wasn't me moving it. It was so exciting, and like, I'll never forget that feeling. Like, it probably doesn't sound good to say that the paranormal experiences and games excite me, but I'd be lying if I said they didn't. We should play a game. How many times does Haley say in one video? Take a shot, or don't. I'm not even drinking age, so. But, it's like watching one of those videos of Kristen Stewart talking. Anyway, my mom has kind of shied away from using anything in our house because we've had quite a few experiences that can't really be confirmed as friendly or unfriendly. We've seen things, we've heard things, but nothing's been bad. I mean, nothing has really hurt us or been malevolent, but there have been experiences where it's just kind of terrified me, because knowing something's there but not knowing whether it's friendly or not is kind of scary. I have had experiences where I'm laying in bed and the air just gets thick and like you just freeze up and you can feel it, and like I can't move to yell out. I can't even speak or yell out to my mom. I'm just like paralyzed with fear, and nothing's ever really hurt me. Knock on wood. But it's definitely been present. There have been times when I hear footsteps coming down the hall and I'll think it's my mom, but then ask her about it the next day and her not knowing anything about it. I counted the number of steps I heard one night, and it was 10 steps, and I laid there and kept listening, and nothing else happened. And the next morning, as a little experiment, I counted how many steps it took me to get from my mom's bedroom to the end of the hallway, and it was exactly 10. So that kind of freaked me out a little bit. It freaked my mom out. We have both seen things like a glowing white orb, I guess you could call it, floating around. And for one, let me start from the beginning of when our experiences first started. One night my mom was cooking dinner and she was listening to music as she cooked, and she had this like speaker that's like a cylinder, it's really small, hooked up to her iPod, like with an auxiliary cord, a short auxiliary cord. And there's no way that it could have vibrated from where it was sitting on the counter off of the counter, and even if it had, it would have landed in the garbage can, which was sitting open straight under where the iPod and speaker were sitting. Well, all of a sudden we hear this thunk noise, and the speaker is sitting in the center of the kitchen, like standing up, and the iPod is like off in the corner, and like there was no bounce or rolling noise, like it was just a thunk. And my mom was completely spooked. She had to go out and like get fresh air and just calm down, and meanwhile I stood in the kitchen and played with the cord and like jiggled everything around to see how easily the iPod would disconnect, and no matter how I swung it or jiggled it, sounds dirty, the iPod wouldn't disconnect. So that was kind of freaky, just like adding up all of the factors. And that was pretty much where it began, and it's kind of progressed since then. We've heard knocking on the side of the house. That happened one night. It's happened a lot of nights. One night, my mom actually went outside to check and see if it was like some neighbor kids or something. Like, she went straight outside. There wasn't a person in sight, and she walked the perimeter of the house. And she came back inside, and I said there was knocking again while she was out there. I was sitting on the couch, and I heard it again while she was out there. So that couldn't have been any human. She wasn't playing a joke on me or messing with me. There have been times when I've heard singing, and I would go and ask, like, Mom, was that you? And she looks at me like I'm crazy. And a lot of it happens like when we're separate. We don't experience a lot of things together. We've noticed like changes in the brightness of the room, the fan in the living room turning off by itself, the TV turning on in the middle of the night. One thing that's happened a few times is my bedroom door closing by itself. The first time my door closed by itself, or the first time that we realized it had closed by itself, was when my mom was home alone. I was driving to Chicago. Like, I was on the road, and she called me and said, I was hearing noises coming from your room, and the door was like cracked open, like it was open. It was like ajar, like a tiny bit, and the air conditioning wasn't on. There were no fans on, like the windows weren't open. And she went to like grab the handle and open the door into my room, and it slammed in her face. Yeah, I honestly don't know how she stayed here alone. Like, my door doesn't close by itself. Like, there are no springs, or it's not leaning. Like, it doesn't close by itself. But for some reason we've been finding it closed. Definitely not a coincidence. There have been times where I have my TV on in my room, and I'll leave the room and I'll come back and the volume's like turned all the way down, and like it doesn't do that when I'm in the room, and it's not a malfunction on the TV. Like, it's a brand new TV, and it's not my mom, so only one other option, right? And I'm sure there are people that will come up with a million excuses that it's not paranormal, but it doesn't feel like a coincidence. Like, you can feel when something is off, and there's definitely something off. There's one experience that really freaks me out. I was sitting home alone, playing my Xbox. My mom was at the grocery store. She was like going to a bunch of different stores. She was going to a bunch of different stores, and I'm sitting on the couch playing, and out of my like peripheral vision, I see this shadow rise up from the floor and like come to be like human height. It wasn't outside. There's no way it could have been outside. Like, the height of the window off the ground, the location of the sun, like, there's no way it was a person. There's no way it came from outside. And plus, I saw it on the inside, like against the wall, like rise up from the ground. And it was standing in front of the window, and as I'm turning my head to like look fully at it, it like smacked the blinds away from the window, and like they were swinging back and forth from the force of it. Like, there's no way I could have imagined this. It really happened. And I remember texting my mom and being like, how close are you to being home? I was truly freaked out, and I just sat there for the rest of the time looking at where I saw it, and nothing else happened. And my mom got home, and I begged her not to leave again for the rest of the day. There was a time where she saw the same thing in her bedroom. She saw a shadow rise up from the floor, like a black mass of a shadow, and just evaporate into thin air. So, that's not something that you can easily explain away. There are tons of other videos that I'll share with you guys on my channel. I will share some Ouija board videos with you guys. But yeah, so I think that will be all for this video. If you liked it, please like or comment and subscribe to my channel. I'll be posting a new one hopefully soon, and if I get permission, I will post the Ouija board video, and hopefully I can convince my best friend to collab with me, maybe over Skype or something, and I will see you next time. Bye!